Hey guys, what's up? So some of you have been asking me to put together little video on how I journal. So I don't really journal like this anymore. I've kind of been using my trade recaps actually as my own personal journal. But when I was really trying to figure out my strategy and my style, I definitely journaled, and I journaled in very much detail. So I'm gonna go through this. Hopefully it's not too overwhelming. Pick and choose things that maybe speak to you. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I use Notion. And I used to use TraderView and ChartLog, and I think those are really great for collecting data and whatnot. But I really wanted something that I could kind of personalize and just kind of make my own. So I used OneNote for a while. I wasn't really into that, and I just switched to Notion. So and I really enjoy it. So let's just dive in. Let's do let's go October 8th. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna basically take you and walk you through kind of my day in my journal, because I don't only use it at the end of the day, I use it at the beginning of the day as well. So as soon as I sit down on my computer, this is open. And we just start with what's happening in the market, right? So here's the little market section that I do in the morning. We've got the SPY, we've got the VIX, and then we've got, sectors. These two sector portions it usually just says sector 1, sector 2. And then once I put together my watch list and I know like what I'm looking at, then I add in, what are the sectors that I should be paying attention to, because those are the stocks that I'm actually trading. And then I just put in, pre-market price, is it gapping, any key levels. Clearly I didn't do that this day, but, and, any notes. And the SPY was definitely not $4.39. So I'm pretty sure I meant to put $439. Anywho, okay, cool. So then after I take a look at the market, then we can get down into kind of the watch list area. Let me put this on like a 90, maybe 80, so it'll fit. Okay, cool. So then here's the watch list section. And, I've got, the stocks that I'm watching. So we've got the name of the company. Here's their symbol. Do they have any sort of catalyst? Here's the sector. I must have added, this later in the morning because I didn't come back up here and do that. My bad. So we've got that. Then we've got, any levels that I should be paying attention to. We've got, here's the range that it's playing right now. S/R means support resistance. And then sometimes I'll have like, if there's like a crazy high volume day or something, like I'll put that level in there just to kind of note that there's a lot of people trading within this range most likely. And then, what's the price at in the pre-market? What's the ATR? I think ATR is like one of the most important indicators you could have. And I think if you were going to, collect anything in the morning, that's a very good one to collect, because if your ATR is, $1.50 and the stock opens up and it shoots up $1.50, well, that's already one ATR move. And if you try to take a long at that point, you're kind of going against what the stock normally does. I mean, granted, there could be like crazy R vol and it could push it past that, and that's like totally, possible. But on the safe side, paying attention to this ATR can let you know whether or not you should get into something, or if it's already pretty much done its move for the day. So ATR is that is like a key one. Then we've got the average daily volume, which is good to note for the pre-market volume section, right? Like these two kind of go together. Because if you're doing a ton of volume in the pre-market and the stock does a certain amount per day, well, then when you open, it's already done a lot of the volume in the pre-market. You might not get the moves later in the day that you would normally get, because so much of it happened in the beginning. And then we've got float, we've got the short float percentage, institutional ownership, market cap, and then any notes. So this stuff, yeah, I think when you're like figuring out what you trade and like what's good for you, is important. I think keeping track of the short float is also really important. You get a higher short float, you get stuff that's super volatile sometimes. And, had you put that in here and then taken a trade and then later on looked back and been like, oh wow, that had a short float that I like cannot trade. Yeah, you would just, the data would help you understand. So then you got the notes section for anything that you're thinking in the morning. And that's about that. That's kind of like the pre-market prep. And then we'll just get down into this. So trade one, we've got, the symbol. Was it a long position or short position? What was the strategy? What was my entry price, my entry time? what were the confirmations, exit price, exit time, reasons to exit, partials, did I add, was it a win or a loss, and what was the R, and then any other notes. And then I'll just kind of show you here. So like this, from as you're building like your master list on this, you can kind of start to put in all these things. So then when you are in here filling it out during the day, you don't have to keep, every time you don't have to keep typing in like, level loss, volume ascending, level rejection. Bless you. Bless you. My dog clearly has allergies. And then you just go, are you gonna be okay? And then you just go and you pick what you're really ruining my YouTube video. Okay, are you good? Okay. So then you just go and select, what was your confirmation here? And then same thing with reasons to exit. Clearly I don't have very many in this, but yeah, and then, for the add portion, did I add? And if, yes, it failed. Yes, it worked. Yes, it was accidental, because that happens. No, I didn't, or yes, I did, and I just said yes. Is it a win or a loss? Break even is also an option. And then, yeah. And then down here is when we get into like all of the other stuff. This is usually like this in the morning, so it's not so like insane. But for the sake of this, we'll just open it back up. Okay, so go back to, when you're in the middle of a stock, sometimes you're not looking, you try to be aware of all the other things that are going on, but sometimes you don't see it when it's happening. So it's really good at the end of the day to go back in and, collect data like this. So like, what was the SPY doing? We've got a couple charts in here. Just, for references, what was the VIX doing? What was my sector doing? You got some higher time frames and smaller time frames. And then any intraday fundamentals that maybe you want to point out, a lot of the stuff gets written down up in the watch list portion, but there's some other things, right? Like RVOL, you don't know that until the stock opens in the morning. So that's something to note, and see, what kind of RVOL works for your strategy. Then we get into some technical analysis. So we've got the long-term charts in here. Some levels and, I'm pointing out some things in boxes up there, some short term, and these all like open up too. You can open up so they're bigger so you can see them like that. And then reading the tape. So for a while I was recording my screen. I don't do that as much anymore. Sometimes I turn it on in the morning if I remember. But when I was really trying to collect data, I would record my screen in the morning so that later on I could go back to that part where I saw something and take a screen grab, right? Like you can pause it so you can actually catch it. Like, look, we've got all these asks on here. So obviously that was something I wanted to note on this. Was I trading around that time? What was happening? And yeah, so you can slow down the tape and you can really see, what was happening on the L2 and the tape, which I think is really, really beneficial. So screen recording is really, really good for that. And then we get into the trade management. So here's my trade that I took. And then I'm just basically noting up this image and, just note it up and load it up, note it up and load it up. And then, yeah, so that's all the trade management stuff. And then we get into the trade review. So just writing down kind of stuff I saw for the day, any notes that I just want to point out. And then I think this is a really important section. So at the end of my trade review on all of my trades, I have what did I do well, what did I do poorly, and what can I improve on. So, I think it's very easy a lot of the time to say all of the things that we did terribly in a trade. And we forget to especially if it went really, really bad, but even in literally the worst trade, I guarantee you can find something that you did well. So, at least write down what you did well, because once you start to do that, you start to remember oh, I'm not terrible at this. I'm getting better. And you can build on those skills that you've clearly, cultivated. So then, what else? Okay, so then we can scroll down here and we've got any additional charts, right? So I want to make sure I have all of the time frames on here, because when I'm going back to look through my my journal, I can see, all of the charts. So up here I've got a 15, I've got a 1, up in here I've got a 60 and a daily and whatnot. So down here, any charts that I'm missing, I'll just add in here in case I want to go back and see what was going on. And then this is, another trade I took that day. So I did the same thing. I just go through here, write down all the things, take any screenshots, any notes. Then I, my dog is like, wants to be the star of this show. Yes, I know. And then, at the end of the day, so after I do all my trades, then I do like the daily deep dive, on the day. Oops. And so it's like, how'd I feel today? So I felt pretty good. I felt calm. I waited 30 minutes, yada, yada, yada. And I just kind of talk about, how my day was and, what was I feeling. And then, I typically I do missed opportunities, but I didn't do this today. I think missed opportunities are good to do. Let's just grab one really quick so you can just kind of see, I don't know, the 6th. So, obviously journal, very similar, right? So I filled out all this stuff, took a screenshot of the news on this one. So that can go in there, reading the tape. Again, what did I do well? What did I do poorly? What can I improve on? And then, oops. And then we've got, here we are in the daily missed opportunity. So this might be something that was like on my watch list and I saw happening, but I didn't take it. And so I took, some screen grabs in the moment, maybe like off of my other screen, and then just kind of threw it in here to like analyze later. Or I'll go back and like just look through stocks for the day and just see like what could have been my setup and how I could have played it. So, in this one I have PLTR and just kind of went through and, took some screen grabs and marked it up a little bit. And then, yeah, just chatted about it here in the daily missed opportunity section. But yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. I know that it's like a lot and probably very overwhelming, but maybe there are some like gold nuggets that you can dig out of here and add to yours. And yeah, all right, cool. Keep journaling. It'll help. I promise. I know it's a time suck, but it's definitely worth it. All right, peace.